everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at a very slow, laid-back, bluesy rhythm and lead that's played with our fingers on the right hand, so I'm not using a pick. And the reason I'm doing that is you have a little more control over dynamics and tone, and I think you just get a different feel when you're playing that way. I'm a big J.J. Cale fan, and J.J. would often play in that style. And so I'm using some overdrive in this, so it's got kind of a heavier feel to it. But you don't have to do that. You can do this on an acoustic guitar if that's all you have. It's going to work great either way. It's just standard tuning. And it's also played very slowly, so it's not hard to follow along with. You should try it. Even if you're a beginner, I think you'll be able to do a lot of this. So I'm going to break everything down, note for note, everything that I played in the intro, and we're going to split that across 2 videos. I'm also going to provide all of the context behind the notes. That's an important thing to stress, and I do that in all the lessons. So you're not just going to memorize how to play them, but you're going to understand the lead stuff, the scales that are used, so that you can take these and extend them and play along with a jam track, or just use them in your own jam scenarios. I'll show you how to change keys and all that. So anyway, so part 1 video, that's what we're looking at here. We're going to go through the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half, as well as download the tablature and the MP3 jam track for this lesson, you can get all of that at ActiveMelody.com. Just look for EP158. That's the lesson number for this lesson. So let's go ahead and get started with part 1. Alright, let's talk through tone settings real quick, and then we'll jump into the lesson. So the first thing to mention, I'm playing on the Gibson ES335 guitar, Dot series, and I have the neck pickup selected. So the pickup selector switch is on the neck pickup. I have the tone all the way up to 10, and I have the volume at about 7 or 8. So I'm going out of the guitar into 3 pedals. The first pedal is a pure boost made by Moore, M-O-O-E-R, and I have the gain at about 25 or 30%. You don't need a lot of gain when you have pickups that are hot in the guitar like these. So that's the setting there. I'm going out of that into another pedal made by Moore, which is called the Trelicopter, T-R-E-L-I-C-O-P-T-E-R, Trelicopter, which is really cool tremolo pedal. I've tried a few different tremolo pedals through the years, and I really like this one. It's one of those real small ones, and it's very easy, just two dials on it, 2 knobs. But that's what gives you that wavy sound in your tone. And so you don't have to have either any of these pedals. I'm just calling them out for those of you that want to know exactly what I'm using. So out of the Trelicopter into a Strymon Timeline, which is a delay pedal. It gives me that slapback delay, and I have that dialed way back. But those are the 3 pedals I'm using to color the tone. I'm going out of that and into a PV Classic 20, which is a really cool little tweed head that I use. And the reason I use that head is because it's got an XLR out, which goes into the camera, and it makes recording very easy. I have the reverb on that head at about 40, or 4 on the dial. Okay, so there's the tone out of the way. So now let's talk about this song. So we're going to start by playing the chords. And we're just kind of set it up in this video. There's a few lead parts in this as well. We're going to cover a lot of material in this video, so this is going to be a really good lesson. In the second video, I'm going to go into, the song repeats, and the second time through we're going to play single string lead stuff. So all that J.J. Cale sounding laid back lead stuff, that's going to be in the part 2 video. But let's go ahead and start with the first thing we're going to do here, which is I'm going to show you how to play this little chord arrangement. Now, I'm using no pick with my right hand. If you're a fanatic about a pick and you don't want to deal with finger style, I understand. You don't have to. You can strum this if you want. But I do think you'd be doing yourself a big service by learning how to play this finger style, because it's real laid back. This isn't Chet Atkins or Merle Travis. This is sort of like kind of intuitive and fairly easy because your fingers line up with the strings. So let's talk about that first. So your thumb lines up with the 5th string, your index finger lines up with the 4th string, and then your middle finger lines up with the 3rd string. And that's where my fingers stay for most of this rhythm stuff. So it makes it kind of easy, and it's a real comfortable grip here to put them in position. The first chord we're going to play is a B flat 5 chord. And it's really just a B flat chord. So most of you know how to make chords using that A chord shape. So if we make an A in first position, for example, we just It's almost like your finger acts as a capo. That's what you're doing here, but we're starting with our index finger on the 5th string, 1st fret, and then I use my pinky, some use their ring finger, but it's the 3rd fret, barring those first 4 strings. And what I'm playing is strings 5, 4, and 3. Those are the only strings I'm playing out of the chord. Now, what that does is that takes the 3rd, or the 3, out of the chord, which leaves you with a 5. So when I said it's a B flat 5 chord, that's what I mean. And when we say B flat 5, or when we say a 5 chord is just a power chord. Some people refer to them as power chords, because it's really just kind of 2 notes, and you're missing that 3rd, which is what defines a chord as a major or minor. That's why it leaves you kind of empty feeling. I'm not a big fan of the 5 chord, but in this kind of thing I am. So in the B flat scale, the B flat major scale, you'd have do, re, mi, fa, so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'd play the 1 and the 5. That's where you get the 5 when you say a 5 chord. So you're leaving that 3 out. Now, if you'll notice I played this note as well. Well, that's the 1 as well. It's just an octave higher. Okay, so they're both a B flat. So that's how we make the chord. Let me show you the left hand first, then I'll get into the pattern with the right hand. So there's your B flat 5 chord. The next chord, we're going to slide that shape up 2 frets, 2, and you should be able to tell me what this chord is. I hope you know what that is, but if you don't, it's a C chord. So we have a B flat 5, we have a C5, and then it goes up to a G5. Now, there's 2 ways you can make a G5, and we're going to do it both ways. So the first time through, I'm going to go from the B flat to the C5 to the G5 up here. The second time through, I'm going to do the G5 here. And you see how it just gives it a different feel? It's like you're going up the first time, the second time you're going down. And it just kind of colors it in a more interesting way, so you're not just repeating the same thing. I'm always looking for different voicings of a chord, especially if I have to repeat a line like this. I think it makes something a lot more interesting. It's worth the investment in time just to figure out a different way to voice the chord. All right, so the way that we're going to, now that you know how to make this chord with your left hand, we're going to start, the first note's going to be our thumb on the 5th string. And then we're going to take middle finger and index finger, and we're going to pluck strings 3 and 4. So we have thumb, pluck, then we're going to do thumb, thumb. So you have thumb, pluck, thumb, thumb, pluck. You could say that to yourself. Thumb, pluck, thumb, thumb, pluck. And that's the first little groove. And then it goes up to the G5. Now let me show you how I'm making this G5. So I switched the chord shape to do this. I'm borrowing the first 5 strings here on the 5th fret, but my ring finger goes down on the 7th fret, 3rd string, and I'm still playing thumb on the 5th string, index and middle on strings 3 and 4. So we have, now that time, so we have thumb, pluck, thumb, thumb, pluck, pluck. So see, it switched there. And after the pluck, we're going to do a thumb on the 5th string. So it's really a G5 with a D in the bass. Now after that, I took my pinky and came up here and played on the 8th fret, 2nd string. And this time I'm going to introduce my ring finger to cover that 2nd string. It makes sense. All those fingers line up over the right strings. And then I take my pinky off, and I have my middle finger down here on the 6th fret, 2nd string. So it goes like that. So if backing up, we have. See what I'm doing there? After I played that using these 3 fingers, strings 2, 3, and 4, there's the thumb again, and then we went pluck, pluck, removing the pinky, and having this middle finger there on the 6th fret, 2nd string. Just repeat that over and over again until you get it. Now one of the little nuance is you'll notice I'm kind of slapping the strings, and that's just a natural thing. My hand is almost like keeping a rhythm, and it just intuitively happens. Right there. Okay, the second time through, that's the same. Now we're going to play a G5 like this, which is cool. It's got this real kind of dark, eerie sound to it. All I'm playing is I'm thinking of it as a G minor chord. So your G major chord would look like that, right? There's your E chord shape right there, barring the third fret. Take your middle finger off, and that's a G minor chord. And I'm just playing strings 6, 5, and 4, those bottom 3 strings. So again, so you have bass, pluck, bass, bass, pluck, pluck, bass. Okay? Now there's my little thing to get us kind of back. Little lick that I threw in. And all I did for that was I took my middle finger, or my ring finger, my pinky, off the fretboard, and then I hammered them back on. And they're going on to the 5th fret, strings 5 and 4. Just like that. So now you have the first, that repeats. So you have the first time through and the second time through. Let me back up and play everything up to that point. And it repeats. Now, it's different this time, just to throw in another little twist. What I did was, instead of coming up here with my pinky, I put my middle finger back down on the 6th fret 2nd string, which we've already done, and I played that instead. I started with that, and then I took my middle finger off. So you have strings 2, 3, and 4, and then take your middle finger off to play it like that. You can either play all 3 strings, or I would actually find myself just plucking that 2nd string there when I take my middle finger off. Like that. So okay? And then the last time through, again, just keeping it interesting and giving you options. The last time through, instead of doing the little thing that we've already done several times, I played just to make the chords more interesting. And instead, it's really easy to do. It's just it's a power chord here, a 5 chord, but instead of using the bar here on the 3rd fret, I didn't play that. So I've got my pinky or your ring finger, depending on which finger you fret this with, on the 3rd fret 4th string, and my index finger is on the 1st fret 5th string, and I play 5, 4, 3, and that 3 is the D note that rings out, the open 4th string. So we have 5, 4, 3. So after I play this, I slid everything up 2 frets, and I played the same 3 strings. So it's 5, 4, 3. You can see that both of these notes are a D note. So we have 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3. That's all I'm doing. And then back to that G5, that low one. So it's like this. And once I get there, it's bass, bass, pluck. Okay, so that's the first half of this. Let me just play through it real quickly, and so you have that as one more reference all the way through. Pretty cool, right? Now it goes to the part B, or the second part of the song, which goes. And what the chords there, that's a C5. It's going to be a C5 add flat 7. So we're going to add a flat 7. And then we're going to do a D5, add flat 7, same chord, just slide it up 2 frets, up to a D5 chord. So let me show you that. The chord is really easy to make. And what I'm doing is I'm just barring all 6 strings on the 3rd fret, and I've got my ring finger on the 5th fret 4th string, but I'm playing strings 5, 4, and 3 with these 3 fingers. So it's pretty easy to play because you're already used to playing on those 3 strings. So we have 1, 2, slide it up 2 frets, and then there's that D5, add flat 7. And then my pinky goes down right here. So I keep that chord shape, but I just put my pinky down and I just use my middle finger, my index finger to pluck strings 3 and 4, those middle 2 strings. Actually, I played the 5th string with it as well. Sorry. So that note goes with it. So after we play that D5, I played a little lead lick that went. Now, where did that lick come from? Let's start there. So this is the first little lead part that we've done. Everything's been a chord up to this point. And what we have done is by playing this D5 chord, so that being the last chord that you hear, the logical place for you to play a lead would be in the key of D, even though the song up to this point has been in the key of G. Now that may be confusing to some of you, because a lot of times we're under the mindset that when we play a lead, it's whatever the first chord is, that's the key that you're in. Well, that's not always true, and this is an example of where it's not. So that's not the key. So I started with a B flat and went to a C. Neither of those are the key, but you can see how it resolves. Just listen to it with your ear. Those are just build-up chords to get you to somewhere. Think of it that way. So when you hear that chord, that G5, or that is like a G minor sounding chord, it's like, okay, that's where we're going. That is home base. So that is the key that the song is in for the first halves. And you'll see that in the second video as we learn all the lead licks that we're going to learn. They're all going to be around the G minor pentatonic scale. Not the B flat, even though we started with a B flat. That's just building up to something. Okay, do you feel the relief when you get to that? It's creating a tension by starting on a different chord. And a lot of songs do that. But I think this will be good for those of you that are learning to improvise, to learn the why behind that. And so anyway, that's a little digression, but I wanted to just set that up so that the first part of the song is in G if we're playing a lead. Now this part, so when we got to the... See how we've just changed the feel? We're now away from this, and we're in this D5 territory. So since the last chord we played was this D5, then you can tell how it switched gears here. So we're now away from that G, and now we're into the D thing. And so now we're going to play, our lead is going to all come from the D minor scale or minor pentatonic scale. I could play from, if I threw in the D major scale is happy. I always think of it as kind of happy, positive. And this song does not feel positive to me. It feels kind of gloomy, kind of mellow. And so if you threw in that major scale, it just wouldn't work. So that's where I go mentally. I hear the minor pentatonic scale. And that's what we're going to play for D, because that last chord was a D. So D pattern 1 would be up here, right? Pattern 5, if we're going backwards, would be there. Pattern 4 would be here. And that's where we're going to be. We're going to be in pattern 4 of the D minor pentatonic scale. So after that, look at these notes. This is cool. So I use my middle finger to go to the 6th fret 2nd string, ring finger on the 7th fret 3rd string, middle finger on the 7th fret 4th string. There's your first 3 notes. Index finger on the 5th fret 3rd string, and then there's a quick slide from the 7th fret down to the 5th fret on the 4th string. So we have. And look at my right hand when I'm doing my fingers there. I'm going. A lot of it's done with the thumb, and then I pick some of them with my index finger. It's kind of going back and forth between these 2 fingers. Okay, and just to clarify, I said that's in pattern 4 of the D minor pentatonic scale. Pattern 4 would be right there, right? Pattern 5 would be up here, and then back to pattern 1 would be here. So I'm just mentioning that so that you understand those licks, why they work. They're coming right out of pattern 4. Alright, so then after the lick, which we just learned, then I came up and played those 3 chords. That's the C chord, that's a B flat chord, and there's your G5 chord. We've already learned, so we started with the B flat to the C to the G. Now we went C, the B flat, back to the G. Now some of you say, wait, that's not a C chord. Well, it is. So you have your C chord using this chord shape. But remember, we've got this side of the fence, and then we've got this side of the fence. I refer to this quite a bit. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just barring this part of the C chord here with my index finger. And then I've got my ring finger here on the 7th fret, 5th string. And I'm still playing strings 5, 4, and 3. Just a cool, it's a different voicing for the C chord. And then we move that down 2 frets. That would be the B flat, right? So you have, and what's nice is sliding into that, like that. So, see how it just slides right in? Down to the B flat, and then down to the G5. And that's 6, 5, and 4, the strings. Okay, and then I played that same little hammer on between the 3rd fret and the 5th fret, and I hammered on with my ring finger and my pinky on the 5th fret, strings 5 and 4, just like we did previously. Alright, so let's back up and play everything up to that point. So we have, then it repeats. This time I threw in a different lick that went really cool, very easy to do. I'm just using my index finger and my ring finger and my pinky, and I'm playing strings 3 and 4, starting here on the 7th fret. You're already doing that as part of your chord, so I just slid back and forth between the 7th fret and the 5th fret on those middle 2 strings, plucking it with these 2 fingers in my right hand. And then back. Now we're down to single string territory, and that's to set up the part 2 video where we go into a lead, which is all kind of single string stuff. Okay, so we have, then back, just those 2 fingers there on the 5th fret, strings 3 and 4, and then just single string. Notice I pushed it sharp there. That's the 3rd fret, 3rd string, and then there's that last note, the 5th fret, 4th string, and that's how we end part 1. I hope that your takeaway, that you'll get this groove with the right hand. That's a really cool way to play, and it just gives you so much more control to. It's hard to do that kind of stuff with a pick. You can, but the plastic on the string just does it. you lose a little bit of something there. Let me back up and play everything up to that point in part one, and that will conclude this first half. All right, I'll see you in part two.